What's the story, Morning Glory? What's the word, Hummingbird? Thank you so much for clicking on my channel and for joining me for this review of Married at First Sight UK Season 7, Episode 23, The Homestays Continued, Part 2. So let's start off with Matt and Whitney. So they're finally participating in a assignment that everybody else participated in. So they're doing the homestay as well, and they go visit Whitney's friend, her BFF. And so when they go visit the friend is kind of like, okay, like what's going on? Because I was at the wedding and this is not the guy that you married. So they have to catch her up to speed and explain to her what happened. And Whitney says that, she's just really into this guy, Matt. She's so into him. She's smitten by him. And her friend says something like, I never really would have thought that you'd end up with a guy like that. And Whitney was like, yeah, I know, the tattoos and everything. But the friend says that Whitney seems so much happier, that she's never seen Whitney this happy before over a guy. And when Matt gives him a chance to talk alone, Whitney tells her friend that they've told each other already that they love each other. They're really into one another. And so the friend is like, hey, if you like it, girl, I love it. And so she's really happy for her friend. Moving on from there, we have Keisha and Kwame. So Keisha and Kwame, they go see Keisha's two sisters, and also her best friend comes over as well. And immediately, the sisters question why Kwame did not allow Keisha to meet his family when she went to go visit his hometown. And he says the same thing he's always been saying, that he's a very private guy. But this is your wife, or your soon-to-be real wife. I'm not sure exactly what goes on in the UK, because in America, they get married. And like from the very beginning, it's like a real binding legal marriage. But I think in the UK, they have the ceremony, but all the legal documents to make it an official marriage is done at the very end of the experiment. So they're not like legally or technically married yet, but whatever. So he says he's very private, but it's like, you're supposed to be considering, sharing your life with this person, and you didn't want her to meet your family. So it's kind of like you're basically telling her, yeah, I'm not at that point yet for you to meet my family. So that means that I'm not at that point yet to really commit my life to you. So there's like red flags all over the place with Kwame. And I'm glad that Keisha is definitely picking up what Kwame's putting down, that maybe he's just not into that relationship as much as, I don't know. I don't think anybody thought he really was into it. So I'm glad that she's getting her confirmation now. So the question then was to Kwame, are you physically attracted to Keisha? And he says, to be honest, I would normally go for someone a lot more petite. And he says like Rihanna or Beyonce, but he definitely finds her attractive. He was very quick to add that on. He says, I normally go for this type of girl, a lot more petite girl, but I'm attracted to Keisha. So he does find her attractive, he says. Kwame felt like her sisters were asking questions that Keisha was probably too afraid to ask herself. And so he's like, I don't understand why she didn't ask me these questions herself. Kind of like he was upset about that, blaming her for something because she wasn't asking these questions herself. But Kwame, that's the whole point of the home visit, is for them to grill you, interrogate you, to see if you're worthy of their sister. You see, you didn't have a home visit. Okay? So you don't understand how it goes. But this is how it goes. The family is going to ask you questions, whether these were questions that Keisha could or could not ask herself. These are the questions that they're asking. And so these are the answers that they're wanting from you. So don't blame her because she didn't ask you these questions herself, because otherwise what would they ask you if she asked you all the questions herself? So Kwame then leaves them alone, and Keisha goes down the line asking her sisters what they really thought of this whole situation, and every single one of her sisters and her best friend were like, no, hell no, this is not it, sis. This ain't it. The biggest issue that they have with Kwame was that he did not allow her to meet his family for his home visit. And also, they say that he thinks he's coming off as very open and vulnerable, but he's not. He's not as open as he thinks he is. He's very closed off and guarded. And all of them were like, yeah, this is not it. And so Keisha was very appreciative of the honesty that her sisters and her best friend gave her, and it gave her food for thought. She's definitely going to be considering the things that they said. Then we have April and George. They meet April's dad. April's dad was real chill. He was just happy to get a free meal. He didn't really care what was going on. And so he was like, yeah, George, I like you. April, I support you. Everything is fine. I love it. He didn't give a damn. He didn't grill George in any way. He says, if my daughter approves of you, I approve of you. I'll let her do whatever the hell she wants to do. She's a grown woman. So this is her life that she's living and I don't interfere. Okay, fine. Moving on. So now we have boys' night and girls' night. So all the guys plus Zoe hang out together and all the girls plus Thomas hang out together. So let's talk about boys' night first. So on boys' night, they go down the line talking about their homestays and whether they had a good experience or not. Jordan says that he had a good experience. He's happy with Shanita. Shanita is happy with him. He said that Shanita's mother approved him, gave her a stamp of approval. And I was like, when did that happen? Because what I saw, the mom was telling her daughter to be extremely guarded with you. So I'm not exactly sure when this stamp of approval occurred, but that's what he said. Kwame said he was not happy with his homestay. He said that he felt interrogated and grilled by her sisters. And he said that Keisha had completely changed around her sisters. He said that Keisha was no longer my apartment Keisha, the Keisha that she is when they're together in their apartment. She turned into somebody that he didn't even recognize. And he didn't like it at all. He did not like the homestay visit whatsoever. So Jonathan, he says he's very happy with Sophie. He says that he would not do this experiment with anybody else and that he can't see himself with anybody else. Like, he's happy with Sophie and he wants to continue in this process with her. Then they play this game of Never Have I Ever. They go through a whole bunch of questions. You know how it goes. One of the questions was, have you ever cheated? And your boy Matt took a drink to show that yes, he has cheated. And so then he says, he qualified his answer and said, but I haven't cheated since I was 21 years old. And I was like, so what the hell did we just witness on this show that caused you to break up with Gemma and get with Whitney? What was that all about? Was that you not cheating on Gemma because you're carrying on fool-la-la-ing with Whitney while you were supposedly still in a relationship with Gemma? Okay, maybe he forgot about that. Maybe that part of his memory was completely wiped out. He doesn't remember any of that. Moving on. So then they talk about who has said I love you to their partner. And when Matt said that him and Whitney have exchanged I love yous, it was so funny because Zoe's mouth just dropped open. Like, her jaw dropped to the floor. She couldn't believe what she was hearing because it just met. They've been together like a week and they've already said I love you to one another. Adrian says in his confessional that it was just total BS. He called BS on the whole entire Matt and Whitney love. Kwame says that he loves Keisha's sweet and nurturing side. And that's about it. He loves her sweet and nurturing side. I think last week when he wanted to leave the experiment early at last week's commitment ceremony, I think he did that because I think he wanted to break up with her off camera. I think that's why he wanted to leave the experiment. I think he's over it all. I think he's over Keisha. I think he's probably thinking, why are we still wasting our time when we're not going to choose each other at the end? And I think he wanted to get off the show so that he can break up with her properly off camera. I don't know. Now let's move on to the girl side. So Shanita talks about how happy she is with Jordan, how the home visit went well. Keisha tells the girls that her sisters concluded that this was not the guy for her, that Kwame was not the guy for her. And it seems like a lot of the women in the group felt the same way, that, Kwame just is not into this at all. So Keisha also mentions how Kwame had joked about everything that she told him that was supposed to be, heartfelt and personal. He kind of joked about it, laughed it all off, giggled, just gave a really inappropriate response. And so, yeah, Keisha is also kind of like over Kwame as well. Thank God. So Thomas talks about his homestay. And he talks about how his parents loved Adrian, but that they saw no chemistry between him and Adrian. And he said that, no matter what, my family still wants Adrian to be a part of my life or part of their life because, something about how they see them more as friends. And then Sophie, okay, sweet little Sophie made the horrible mistake of giving Thomas her 2 cents and said something like, yeah, they see y'all as more friends than anything else. And so then Thomas jumped down her throat, like attacked her like a wild mountain cat and said, you've only been here 5 minutes, so you wouldn't know what's going on in my relationship. And then he proceeds to talk about how he doesn't like any of these women. He goes, I don't like 90, not just the women, but the men too. He's like, 90% of y'all, I really don't like. And he says, the only people that I really care for are Jenna, Shanita, and Keisha. She goes, the rest of y'all, I really don't care for. And so Whitney said, vice versa, honey. The feeling's absolutely mutual. And then Thomas says, you don't talk to me. You're a liar and an adulterer. Keisha tried to refocus Thomas back to the task at hand, basically to tell us more about your homestay visit, but he was so busy cussing out Keisha, talking about how he didn't like anybody in the group except the people that he mentioned, and so he was over it all, and he made one of his famous exits. And of course, as he's exiting, he's calling everybody, he's hurling insults everywhere, calling everybody bees, and he made Sophie cry. Sophie was like in tears, and they were trying to tell Sophie, girl, don't take it so personal. This is just how he gets. It's not personal. This is Thomas being Thomas. He has to lash out at somebody. He always has to cuss somebody out. So after that whole Thomas fiasco died down, because he left, he never came back, and Shanita, someone who he said he liked, said that the room felt a lot better without him, a lot lighter. They're a lot happier. They're more at ease once Thomas was gone. So then they start playing Never Have I Ever, and Jenna asked Whitney if she ever considered what she did as cheating. And so Whitney turns it back on her and says, well, do you consider what I did cheating? And I guess Jenna was like, she wanted no parts of Whitney. So then Jenna says, well, I don't think what you did was cheating, but I do think what Matt did was cheating. Make it make sense. How do you cheat without a co-cheater, Jenna? How does that work? How do you cheat without a co-cheater? Whether Whitney was involved in a relationship or not, the fact that he cheated on Gemma by default made Whitney a cheater as well. Now, obviously, the plot was thickened because Whitney herself was in a marriage or in a relationship with Duca, and he had no idea what the hell was going on. So they were both cheating on their respective partners with one another, so they're both cheaters. So I don't understand how Whitney is not a cheater. Not only did she cheat with Matt, but she cheated on Duca. So she cheated both ways, like Matt did. They did the exact same thing. And I understand that they think that because Duca and Whitney were not really feeling each other, blah, blah, blah. Okay, fine. If they weren't feeling each other, that's okay. If she wasn't feeling Duca, Duca wasn't feeling her, there's nothing wrong with that. But she should have done the right thing and had a conversation with Duca before she jumped into anything with Matt. She should have completely ended it, cut all ties with Duca and whatever the hell they had going on, whether it's a real marriage or not a real marriage, whatever it was, because Duca, it was kind of obvious that he wasn't feeling Whitney. I don't think he was, but let's say theoretically he was developing feelings for Whitney. He deserved to be informed of what the hell was going on behind his back. So Whitney was a cheater. Jenna, your logic, I don't know if you were just scared of Whitney and that she was going to come down your throat and attack you like the way Thomas attacked Sophie, and you got scared, and so you switched it up and said, oh no girl, you weren't cheating, but he was. But you can't cheat without a co-cheater. Girl, anyways. Why are they afraid to call it what it is? I don't understand. They were cheating. What they did was wrong because they were sneaking around behind their partner's backs, developing their own clandestine relationship. Why can't people just call it a thing? You can still like her. You can still be her friend, but she cheated on her dude. Whatever was going on between her and Duca didn't know. So he didn't have the opportunity to, you know, be like, okay, I hear you, girl. I understand. You're right. We don't really feel it for one another. Let's go our separate ways. You know, good luck to you and Matt. Or, Whitney, you broke my heart. I really was beginning to have feelings for you. I was beginning to love you, or whatever the situation was. But give him the opportunity to make a decision. Y'all were deciding for y'all's partners that that relationship was over. And poor Gemma, you know, she was like falling for Matt, wanting to make it work with Matt. Anywho, yeah. So yeah, call a thing a thing. It is what it is. And I like the fact that Thomas called her out and said, you're a liar and you're a cheater. Get out of my business. Thank you so much for joining me on this review. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, please don't forget to rate the video. If you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I will definitely talk to you later. Bye. Y'all, I forgot. There was like a whole section of Girls Not that I forgot to talk about that I'm going to talk about now and just attach it to the end of the other video. So they talked about who said I love you. April and George, of course, they've said I love you. So then Whitney admitted that her and Matt have also exchanged I love yous. And Shanita was shocked. And she was like, but y'all have known each other for literally a week. And y'all are already saying that I love you. And then Whitney says, well, you know, I love you in this, she says a week in this experiment is not like a week on the outside in the real world. You know, a week in this experiment, it's very condensed, fast paced. So like 1 week in the experiment is probably like 1 month in the real world. So everybody was like, oh, okay, yeah, okay. We kind of see what you're saying. No, we don't. Unless 1 week in this experiment is equivalent to like 6 months in the real world. I don't buy it. And when they describe what they think is love, like they talk about having these tingly feelings and butterflies and this and that, I think what they have for each other is lust, not love. I forgot to talk about that. And Keisha says that she considers herself single now. You go, girl. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. She says, I'm single now. Let's just hope that she says that to Kwame's face the next time they see each other. Now I'm done. Thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate it. On your way out, don't forget to rate the video if you like this content, subscribe to my channel, and I'll definitely talk to you later. Bye.